Hello again, my subscribers. Today we are doing a Let's Read. Well, this is it. The concluding chapters. We've made it to the end. Now it's just a matter of what the fuck am I gonna do now? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Anyway, let's finish this turkey. Maybe I was better off in hell. Those words rang throughout hell like a signal warning of an impending hurricane. The imps got themselves ready to receive their new guest, which happened to be a returning tenant. They missed her. Oh, how they missed her. Missed her torment at wearing the clothes Lucifer assigned for her, and how he colored their world with her language. Most of all, they missed her body. Now and then, when the mood caught them right at the precise moment, they would use her body for whatever their desires called for, even if it meant making a hole, which they did, sometimes in the same place over and over again. One imp loved to make a hole in her heart. Of course, he had to use a little magic to get it beating to maximize his pleasure. Sometimes he would get it to pump faster to snap around his cock. The orgasm was always intense, and the burning semen in her heart chambers was excruciating and always lasted far too long. But it eventually went away. But there was one part of her body they never touched, her womanhood, and everything that followed. All of her reproductive organs were forbidden, except for the fallen angel himself. So it was written in hell, so it was law in hell. But it wasn't just Ebony who was used. Remember, hell was host to many. One of those was a giant dog being penetrated from behind by Lucifer. It was unfortunate to become a sex slave to a giant red demon the size of a professional center for an NBA team. But for Odie, it was worse than anything he had ever come across in his life. He realized Garfield's obsession with lasagna was more tolerable and pleasing than having a 9-inch long demon dick shoved up his rectum for 1,000-odd years. The worst part was he was never offered any ointment for the tears. They may have automatically healed, but it would have been nice to have some quick earthly relief from the pain. Such was the condition of being in hell. The phrase, "maybe I was better off in hell," found its way to the ears of the Prince of Darkness. He stopped thrusting, pulled out, and left Odie to catch his breath and endure the pain. "That is my music," said Lucifer. "She's coming back." He turned to Odie. "You're about to witness what happens when one of our own escapes." Odie's ears perked up. Escapes? He must have been talking about that girl that left him here to experience this unbearable torture. He'd been waiting for this chance, and he would take it. "Mr. Lucifer," said Odie, "permission to speak, O Dark Prince." "Permission granted," said Lucifer. "You won't believe it," said Odie, "but I was put here accidentally." "Really?" Lucifer raised an eyebrow. "According to your file, your crimes included identity theft, invading a public school, forcing someone to choose who to save and who to allow to perish, mass murder, torture, acts of terrorism, imprisoning women, attempting rape, and slavery. Sounds like you're a shoo-in for the fires of hell." "Some of those were out of control and taken out of context," started Odie, but he stopped when he saw Lucifer staring at him. That wouldn't work. He knew, because Lucifer had the ability to look into the heart of an inhabitant to see the truth. He started again. "Okay, I admit, I'm not a good dog, but look. Do you want to spend an eternity ass-fucking me? I offer nothing in the bedroom. As you said, I had to attempt rape to get laid. But what she has to offer in bed, now there is something to consider. I've had her multiple times. What's your point?" "My point is," began Odie, like he was pitching a sale, "what I have to offer you is more valuable than my asshole." "And what is that?" asked Lucifer skeptically. He had heard this phrase multiple times, so he was used to hearing the worst possible deals this side of Trump Tower. Besides, he liked Odie's asshole. It was tight, and always partially prolapsed whenever he pulled out. Still, he He had to give him a fair shot. It was the least he could do for his canine fleshlight. "My enemy Garfield," said Odie. "Look at his file and tell me he's no different than I am. Beyond that, he uses a time machine built within his ship to go to various places and periods. Let me get that for you, and you can use it to alter the past to better your future, with me as your right-hand man. I know all of Garfield's techniques and tricks. I know how he thinks. Hell, he doesn't know that I rendered him infertile one night. He's an idiot. You'll trounce him." "And where does the girl fit into it?" asked Lucifer. "However you see fit," said Odie. "Make her your bride. Get her pregnant with more imps. I don't care. It'd be hilarious anyway to watch her brood fuck her in the heart like they talk about doing. But I don't want her. You know who you are?" "What?" "You're a calculating, cold-blooded sociopath. You belonged on that episode of Dr. Phil where you pulled off his mustache and made him eat it. But if you deliver on all these promises, I'll get you a desk next to mine. Then it's a deal?" Odie held out his hand. Lucifer immediately took it. It burned, but Odie didn't mind. They had work to do. Ebony entered the gun shop. The owner, a big guy, stood behind the counter. He saw her and smiled. "How may I help you?" "I want a gun," said Ebony. "Well," he began, "what kind would you like?" "A gun," said Ebony. "One that has a bazillion bullets and is black and gothic. First of all, no firearm holds a bazillion bullets. Secondly, are you looking to buy an air rifle or something else?" "The kin you put in your fucking pocket," said Ebony, irritated. Seriously, was this prep an idiot? A gun was a gun, and that was that. "I'm sorry," said the gun owner. "We don't sell handguns." "Why not?" asked Ebony. "They are illegal," explained the gun store owner. "What kind of fucking country is this?" screamed Ebony. "America lets you buy one." "Well, not here. We value life a little more than they do." "Oh, fuck this," said Ebony, and she exited the store. She continued her way down the street. The earth shook under her feet. Other Britons felt the same thing. They didn't know what to do. It was strange and frightening, and became increasingly so when a fissure formed in the ground and widened. They screamed and ran in different directions. The crack started from across the street and ended just where Ebony stood. She stared, knowing what would emerge. Two figures surfaced from the fires, raging from the fissure in the ground. A giant red monster that looked like a man, and the same creature she saw when she escaped. "Hello, Ebony," said Lucifer. "Are you ready to return to hell?" "Whatever," Ebony shrugged. That stopped Lucifer in his tracks. He wasn't used to that reaction. He loved fear. He thrived on it. It excited him. To see a victim not show any fear took the fun out of the entire process of taking them to hell. "Wait a minute," said Lucifer. "This isn't right." "What are you talking about?" asked Odie. "Take her." "No," said Lucifer. "She needs to be scared." "Who cares? Just take her and be done with it." "Odie, there's a process to all of this." "Man, fuck the process. Look, I'm the Prince of Darkness. I have a way of doing things that works for me." The sound of a ship landing on the ground caught their attention. The walkway lowered, and John Freeman and Garfield ran out, Desert Eagles ready. "Now look," said Odie, pointing. "He's here. Our plan can be put in place." "Odie," said Garfield, "nice to be seeing you again. Now I can be making sure that you're staying in hell where you belong." "Go ahead and kill him!" screamed Odie to Lucifer. "Don't scream at me," said Lucifer. "I get very nervous when you yell. Besides, you haven't seen all of the tricks up my sleeve." He snapped his fingers, and a series of imps rushed out of the fires of hell. John Freeman and Garfield, and now Ebony, found themselves cornered by them. John Freeman shot a few, as did Garfield. Ebony pulled out her wand and fired orbs of light at imps around her. A flock dogpiled onto Garfield, but he forced them off with his arms, backhanding a couple into unconsciousness and headbutting others back to hell. He turned and saw Ebony cornered. He ran to her, punching imps into the air, and looked her up and down. "Are you okay?" asked Garfield. "Why do you care?" said Ebony. "Because I love you. said Garfield. Ebony looked at Garfield, shocked. More imps descended upon them. John Freeman pushed a button on his belt. His Harley-Davidson rolled out of the ship automatically. John Freeman jumped onto the seat and rode through the horde, slicing imps with a katana. He popped wheelies and landed on imps' heads. He stopped before Garfield and Ebony. "Nice to see Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway again," said John Freeman. He continued through the swarm. "Excuse me," said Ebony to Garfield, "but why are you here again?" She fired an orb at an imp. "I love you," repeated Garfield, backhanding an imp. "Then why did you throw me out?" she asked. Another orb was launched from her wand. "I made a mistake," said Garfield, and fired 3 bullets through 3 lines of imps. "I should have known better." "What changed your mind?" asked Ebony, firing 3 orbs at 3 imps. "Well, for starter-uppers," said Garfield, kicking an imp multiple times, then spin-kicking its head clean from its neck. "I still owe you that kiss." "Garfield, John Freeman, and Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway are outnumbered," screamed John Freeman. Indeed, they were. 3 more imps came out for each defeated one. John Freeman, Garfield, and Ebony were against the gun shop wall. "Garfield," said Ebony. "Yes," said Garfield. It was nice for Ebony to refer to him by his real name rather than being called a prep. "That belt buckle," said Ebony. "Press it." "Oh, yes," said Garfield, and he pressed the button on his belt buckle. A jet roared onto the scene, bearing down on the imps. "What is that?" asked Lucifer. "Oh, shit," sighed Odie. "Amico!" yelled a voice through the speaker of a jet. The Guns N' Roses song "Welcome to the Jungle" played. A machine gun lowered from the jet and fired on the imps. The jet hovered above the ground, never stopping the onslaught. Taking the momentum given to them by the mysterious stranger, Garfield burst onto the scene, firing away at the imps and roundhouse kicking them. Ebony fired more orbs from her wand. John Freeman continued slicing away and popping wheelies onto imps. A cloud of dust arose, covering the battlefield. Lucifer and Odie couldn't see what was happening. Ebony shot an orb at an imp, creating a hole in the dust and giving her a view of Lucifer. Ebony remembered full well the multiple times Lucifer raped her. She could remember feeling his sperm slithering inside of her and going through the dehumanizing process of giving birth to the very imps that would, in turn, rape her. How she hated him for that. How she wanted to get back at him, and now she could with a renewed sense of purpose. The only problem was the line of imps blocking her path. She continued firing orbs at the imps, and when one of them fell, she took the opportunity to step onto its head and used the heads of other imps as stepping stones toward Lucifer, all the while firing orbs at imps that tried to stop her. "Hey, asshole!" she yelled at Lucifer, and with one quick motion, she shot an orb at his exposed penis. The appendage blew off instantly. Lucifer looked down and screamed in pain. Ebony shot 2 more orbs, exploding both of his testicles. He fell onto his knees, clutching his crotch. The imps froze in place. After 3 seconds, they disintegrated and blew away in the wind. The music ceased. The dust cleared. The jet landed and its engine shut off. Ebony, Garfield, and John Freeman stood in the fighting stance. Garfield holding his Desert Eagle, John Freeman on his Harley-Davidson, and Ebony crouched on the ground. All of them panted and sweated. The pilot exited the jet and removed his helmet. He was a man with a rugged scar on his left eye. His cloak and hair blew in the wind, created by the jet's engine. "Thank you, John Arbuckle," said Garfield. "You helped save the day." "No problem, good friend," said John Arbuckle. He climbed back into the jet and took off. "Care to explain that?" asked Lucifer to Odie. He was still on the ground, clutching his disfigured crotch. "I keep forgetting about him," said Odie. "The deal's off," said Lucifer. "You're coming back with me." He dragged Odie down, kicking and screaming. "Hey, Odie," said Garfield, pointing his Desert Eagle. "This is for rendering me infertile." He shot Odie in the shoulder. The dog screamed in pain as the hole closed up above him. The Britons came back and looked at the 3 strange heroes. They cheered. Draco was among them. He approached Ebony. "You were brave," he said. "Thank you." "You're welcome," said Ebony. "Now, I think I can let you go." "Really?" asked Draco. "Why the change of mind?" "Change of heart," said Ebony. "What I did to you, to Vampire Harry, Bloody Hermione, Diop, Ron, it was wrong. I should have fought beside you all when it counted most. I could have done more. Now's my chance to do that. Goodbye, Draco. I'll never forget you." She hugged Draco for the last time and turned to her new friends. "Let's go," she said. As they headed to the ship, Draco realized something. "Wait a minute," he said, pointing to Garfield. "I remember you." Ebony, Garfield, and John Freeman turned around. "You!" yelled Draco. "Me?" asked Garfield. "Yes, you!" cried Draco. "You shot me!" "What?" asked Ebony, equally shocked. "Yes!" said Draco. "Wizard boy," said Garfield, "I've shot many people. After a while, it all blurs." "John Freeman concurs," said John Freeman. "Garfield has shot many different people. Not even John Freeman can remember it all." "You did!" screamed Draco. "You had a shotgun in your leg, and you bloody shot me in the shoulder. I spent a month in the hospital wing trying to get all of that out. Madame Pomfrey said she'd never seen anything like it." "Oh, yeah," said Garfield, finally remembering. "Now I'm remembering." "Garfield!" screamed Ebony. "We are going to have a talk right now." "I am being in trouble," said Garfield. The ship sailed through space on autopilot. The inhabitants inside went about their duties. John Freeman on the computer writing code, and Garfield and Ebony in the recreational area. This time, Ebony lifted heavier weights, her arms slowly but surely building muscle. "How's it going, sugar butt?" asked Garfield, smiling. "Don't call me that," smirked Ebony, "or I'll render you important." "Very well," said Garfield, "but what's riding through your head like a rampaging buffalo herd?" "You and your metaphors," said Ebony. They had been together on this ship for 3 months since the Piccadilly Circus incident, and since then, Garfield noticed a change in Ebony. "It's just," began Ebony, "I spent my whole life wanting one man. Never spent Tim on myself. Never found out who I am. Never found out who truly was right for me." "Well," said Garfield, "you can always begin here." It always got on her nerves when Garfield hit on her like that, and it always gave Ebony a supreme thrill to be the cock-block. But, after 3 months spent saving so many lives across the universe, "Do you want to stick your thing in my you-know-what here?" asked Ebony, "or shall we retire to a more private area?" "Follow me, my Gothic queen," said Garfield, "and I'll show you why I'm king in the bedroom." Of course, it was a bedroom. Garfield had it especially designed for moments like this. It had a heart-shaped bed with a red comforter and his and hers pillows. A candelabra stood directly across from the foot of the bed, still showing evidence of many nights of lovings. There was a radio from the 1990s sitting close by the bed. Garfield and Ebony entered. Garfield led her to the bed, allowing her to sit down. He walked to the radio and grabbed a CD entitled Best Love Songs from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Ebony saw it. "Best love songs from the 70s, 80s, and 90s?" asked Ebony. "I never knew a CD like that existed." "There is no other in existence," said Garfield. "I had it especially made for lovings like this." "You make CDs?" asked Ebony. "Sometimes." "Why didn't you tell me before?" "You never asked." "Would you make me one for me?" "Sure, sweet thing. What would you like to be having on it? Can it be Gothic songs?" "Yes." "MCR, Good Charlotte?" "Yes." "Oh, I'm a Satan." "Get it, 'cause I'm Gothic." "You're hotter now." "I know, baby cakes." "Put your man thingy and my lady thingy right now." "Get ready, 'cause I'm going to be riding you like a wild stallion of the Cimarron." Garfield pressed the radio's play button and the music began. He walked to the wax-encrusted candelabra and lit the candles. He turned down the lights. The mood was set. Garfield took off his shirt. Ebony looked him up and down. She reached out and touched his body. They kissed. Ebony took off her top, exposing her flat chest. Garfield licked her up and down. She shivered. Garfield took off his pants, and his love anaconda sprang free. Before this moment, Garfield decided to go to a space doctor to get his tubes reattached. It was an expensive surgery, but he made it through. He developed a limp, but fought through it despite much pain and suffering. He knew it was worth it because he knew whom he wanted to receive his seed. Ebony's eyes widened at the sight of Garfield's manhood. She took off her dress and was completely naked. She spread her strong legs apart, exposing her freshly shaven womanhood. Garfield climbed onto the bed and hovered over Ebony. He thrust into her. She gasped loudly. He kept pushing, slowly at first and then faster and faster. Ebony yelped with every thrust. It wasn't her first time, and she was devastated that her first time wasn't with Draco, like she wanted it to be. Yes, she was raped multiple times by Lucifer and gave birth to imps that liked to fuck her chest. However, her mind returned to Draco, and she realized that the one she loved was never Draco. He was a crush, an infatuation from her teenage years. The one she loved was right here, inside of her right now. That caused an orgasm that rocked through her body like an earthquake. Garfield himself experienced many orgasms in his life. Some of them were terrible, others were pretty good. But this was the best. He felt every drop of his climax leave his testicles and enter her cervix. They grew still, shaking and staring at each other. They kissed. "I love you," said Ebony. "I love you," said Garfield. The monitor on the cockpit showed the post-coital romance between Garfield and Ebony. Magic. It was pure magic, and it was all witnessed by John Freeman. He sat in the pilot's seat, his pants around his ankles. He had a look of pure ecstasy on his face. "Nicely done, John Freeman's wife," said John Freeman. "And nicely done, Garfield and Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway." A woman emerged from between his legs, wiping some residue from the side of her mouth. Is John Freeman sure that Garfield and Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway don't know that John Freeman and John Freeman's wife are watching? "Don't worry," John Freeman assured her. "As long as Garfield and Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway never ask, John Freeman and John Freeman's wife will never tell." The end. So that's it. We made it.
We did it! We did it! We did it! Yay! Oisimos! We did it!
This entire series completely wrapped up. So now what am I going to do?
It's not a bad question, Bert.
I have an idea. But you're going to have to wait until the next time.
Damn it.
Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you so much for keeping up with me this entire time. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Share it with everybody you know. Subscribe today. I upload every Saturday, or at least try to. Hit the notification bell to get notified of more content. Like the Facebook, Tumblr, TikTok, and Instagram pages. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay safe and healthy. And remember, it's chaos. Be kind.